the Rabbit Hole, der TU Dresden Biologie-Podcast. Von und mit Cosima Sagona, Leonie Hobum und Oliver Zierer.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Today we're doing something a bit different. As you might have noticed, I'm speaking in English because we have a special guest today. So first I'm sitting here as usually with Olli and Lenin, and I'm Cosi. But we are joined by a fourth person, which is Layanne.
Hello.
Hi Layanne. Welcome.
Thank you.
Layanne is from the same master's course that Lenin and I are doing and that Olli is giving.
One of the few.
Which sounds very generous.
Very giving. I'm a very given person.
It's giving master's course.
Yeah.
Anyways, Layanne, say hello and maybe tell us a bit about you, if that's all right with you.
Yes, hello. I'm Layanne. I come from the US, which is why we're speaking in English. And I came to Germany specifically for this master course. Well, I was applying to different courses in Germany, but...
What? Why am I only hearing this now?
But this course was the top of my list, so yeah, when I got in, I was like, I don't care about the other ones. I want this one, because it is special.
My heart.
So yeah, I've been here for 2 years.
Yeah. How do you like Germany?
I like Germany. I like living here. I like being a student here. Being a student in the US is not easy. It's very expensive. So my experience here as a student has been a lot more relaxed than in the States. I feel a lot more independent, and I feel like I can take on more extracurriculars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you feel the level of education? Can you compare that? Okay, you did a bachelor in the US and no master, so but...
I think a bachelor and a master's is completely different, to be fair. And the way we do it in the US is also different because every class has 3 midterms and then a final exam, whereas here you just have the final exam. And for me, that made things a lot more relaxed because I would just study for the final instead of having to study all throughout the course.
Yeah, we only had like portfolio exam types in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. No, not real like written exams or oral exams. I think it was more chill in general.
Yeah, I also think that it's much more relaxed here, which is not the stereotype of Germany and America. But
what?
I was really surprised, first of all, that some of our classmates, when starting the masters, still hadn't finished their bachelors. Technically,
like me.
And it was surprising to me that it's so normal and you don't even think about it when you take longer than the given 2 years to finish your master's. In the States, it's like a really big thing if you need extra time to finish your studies.
But to be honest, I can't actually tell if this is a specificum for Germany or very Dresden biology specificum. So...
No, actually, I know a lot of people that, first of all, take longer for their degree.
Yeah,
the
not
given time,
bad. Yeah,
and that they finish up their bachelor's degree while already starting the master's. But mostly they don't do. Mostly they do what I did, which is I only had like 1 exam left, and I could only take it at the end of the semester. Which is why I had to take another semester of the bachelor's. But I didn't have to do anything more. Like the only reason why I did what I did is because I didn't want to wait another year to start my master's just because I had 1 more exam left. Yeah. But that you actually like still have a lot to do, like you're still writing your bachelor's thesis and stuff like that while already starting your master's. I don't think that that's usual.
Okay, yeah, that's...
It's more like a time constraint thing.
Yeah, but in the States it just wouldn't be possible because you need your bachelor's to apply.
Yeah, I mean, you need it here. You need this 80% certificate here, so you need to show that you have done 80% of your bachelor's credits before you start, and then you promise to finish your bachelor's during 1 year after starting your master's. So
is it 1 year or 1 semester? I always thought it was a semester.
No, I think it's 1 semester. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but we know some cases where
that didn't work.
Yeah.
Anyways, maybe to get everyone on board, we should talk a little bit more about what BioS actually is. We might have, I think we talked about it before in other of our episodes, but BioS is short for Biology and Society, which is the name of the master's course that we're doing, which is basically just a still pretty broad biology master's. So it does focus on like evolutionary biology and genetics and stuff like that. So for example, we don't really have a lot of botany or stuff like that, but it is still pretty broad. You have a lot of different topics. And you can choose a lot of things yourself, like, for example, where you're going to do internships and things like that. That is completely up to you. But what is special about the course is that it has a very heavy emphasis on science communication. So normally when you do a science master, you do the science, the theory, and if you're lucky, the practice. But you don't really learn how to communicate what you are researching, which... I'm guessing Olli and Klaus, the two people that made this master's a few years ago, they thought was not good, and I would sign that statement because, you know, you need to be able to explain to people that do not know about your research. You need to be able to explain to them what you're doing and why that is necessary and why it might be helpful or interesting or whatever.
Yeah, I would maybe not go that far to say it's not good if you don't have it. But we thought it would be beneficial to have it. So it is actually good to have, and would help our students more than the lack. So everything comes with a cost. If you do a bit more science communication and a bit more societal aspects of biology, that means you have less time for other things. But we thought, in the end, that would be beneficial for the students instead of put more biology facts in the studies.
I think it also helps not only with communicating your science to like a broad audience, to laymen and stuff like that. I think it also helps because biology is very interconnected with a lot of other different fields of study where you would maybe work together with them in the future. And I think it makes the people who graduate from this course more able to work interconnectedly with other fields because you know what they know, you know what you know, and you know what their connection is.
And it makes us sitting here and recording a podcast, this time in English. But actually the podcast is somehow the second child of the BioS. The first child of the BioS is the BioS reports. So this is even more Klaus' child than mine child. It was the idea to have a written communication in form of something like a newsletter, small journal style of communicating, and in English. And
it has an ESSN, so it is a real journal.
It's a real journal and real citable, and
that's why we have Layanne here.
Yeah, that is one of the many reasons we have Layanne here. Oh, you could see how she blushes.
What was it like working on BioS reports?
So it really opened my eyes to what I could be doing in the future. Actually, part of the reason why I applied and wanted to join BioS, the Masters, is because I did not find my passion in any specific area of biology. I did not like any of the practical lab courses I did in my bachelor's. I couldn't see myself doing that as a career. And I've always thought, like, when you read a scientific paper, I think to myself in my head after reading it 5 times, this could have been written so much easier.
Especially because sometimes the stuff they write about isn't even that difficult, but they somehow word it in a way that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
I actually talked to my oldest sister about this recently. She's an actress, and she just started an online course for intimacy coordination, which means she now has to read like a lot of scientific papers about like communication and feminism and sexuality, blah, 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 blah. And she told me like, and I haven't practiced my English in so long, so I feel like my English is worse because I don't understand the papers. Like I have to look up stuff all the time. And I told her like, girl, it's not your English. It really isn't. If those papers were in German, you'd have the exact same struggles, because people writing papers most of the time don't write for it to be understandable.
Yeah.
They write for it to sound intelligent, which is so stupid, because like science used to be this ivory tower where like smart people would talk, like smart and rich people, educated people that had the money for it would talk to other educated people and compare who had the biggest, I don't know, bank account and thus knowledge. But it's not that anymore. So you
Why
need
wasn't
to,
I expected bank account?
you need to be able to talk to people outside of your field about your science. If you're not able to talk about your science in a comprehensive way, it's comprehensive to someone that's not in your field, then you are not good at your science.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one of the big problems of science, that for so long people thought if it's simple and easy to understandable, it can't be good science. Yeah. And that is the opposite of what good science is. But things like that are difficult to kill.
Yeah. I think similar to that, I think one of the reasons you actually could start the masters was that we saw these problems of science communication so strongly during the pandemic. I mean, it's just my hypothesis, because it somehow made it very central to the human experience to see how bad scientists communicate their science.
Yes and no. So it's partially that way, and Klaus actually described it very well once, and he said, before Corona, or before COVID-19, we always, when we said what we wanted to do, the people were saying, yeah, why, what, huh? And then after Corona, this question was never asked again. They were all the people we told about our master, other scientists, other biology professors or people in that field were like, that's such a cool idea. Huh. And you started before Corona with that? Yes.
Yes. But Layanne, you wrote about a lot of very different topics in BioS, no? So it was like...
First of all, what was your position in BioS, or is your
in
position?
BioS reports.
Yeah, it's not so clear with what position. I guess technically I'm an editor, but all three of us right now, we're three people. We're all editors. So we get essays from people in the BioS course, or we write them ourselves. It could be little articles that we think are interesting about something news happening in the BioS master's course or in the biology faculty. It could be a little article about what someone did for like their lab rotation or master thesis. But usually every issue...
Pause. Lab rotation means like an internship somewhere. Just to clear that up real quick.
Yes.
Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. But every issue has at least one essay from the course, usually along the topic of animals and money, which is something that every cohort needs to write about. So what economic value or not value an animal could have on one country's economy. So this is something we have to write for one of Klaus's classes, and all the topics are really interesting. So we collect...
It's so niche.
Yeah,
I think it's
very,
so
very
cool to
niche.
read.
And so we collect as many as we can from the students, anyone who's willing. And most people are willing, as long as they don't have to generally do any extra work. So the extra work falls on us, the editors, to correct any grammatic mistakes. That's where my native English-speaking skills come in handy. And also to shorten it, because these essays are generally 1,500 words, something like that, and we have to shorten it to fit onto half of a single A4 paper. So that's a special skill we have to have, is picking out what's the most interesting and valuable information and what's extra fluff in those articles.
Yeah, make like a little kitchen call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what's your favorite story you edited?
Oh, you wrote.
Oh, you wrote.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not to be biased, but mine.
So modest.
I wrote mine. Mine wasn't really about the economics, just because the economics information wasn't there, but it was about the use of messenger pigeons in World War One.
I remember that one.
I loved that one.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
And especially because I read about it before, because I found it so interesting.
Yeah.
So big shout out to you. If you're interested, you will find the BIOS reports on our webpage.
They are also written in English.
In English, and and it's actually worth browsing through it and finding quite interesting little stories which you can perfectly read while you're sitting on the toilet.
And
Actually, what did you write about, Lenin, in the economics one?
I wrote about corals and Egypt, very fitting to our diving excursion.
And I actually edited that one myself.
Ooh.
Had to shorten it.
Yeah, it was very long. No, I think it was a big problem because there was quite a lot of economical data, but I really had to infer a lot of the percentages because there was a lot of data on tourism, but not specifically diving tourism. And then I had to combine it obviously with fishing because coral reefs give a lot of ecosystem services, which means that they keep the fish stocks alive by being a fish nursery. So I think it's quite hard to calculate, but I think it was quite a high number. I was impressed in the end.
Yeah.
Do you read those essays as well, or does only Klaus read them because he grades them?
Yeah, I only read them when they are published, so I don't read them beforehand.
Published in
the BIOS reports, yes.
What was your favorite so far?
Oh God,
Putting you on the spot, Beach.
well, that's so. Gosh, I can't actually tell. I think I like there was one about donkey skins.
Oh, girl, that was mine. You knew that was mine. You just wanted to flatter me.
So yeah, and I liked. Didn't totally agree on the one of another student who wrote on the wolves, but it was well done and well argued.
What do you mean on wolves? Like
the value of wolves for Germany.
Because they kill livestock and stuff like that. But
yeah,
also,
but on the other hand, they have a touristic value. So it was actually well done. Not all numbers were, I think, you could interpret a bit differently, but it made me think about the whole story, and I like that for that perspective.
And people listen more often to Reinhard Grebes Brandenburg because of that, I think.
Yeah,
Because it has this one sentence that in Brandenburg there are wolves again, and I think it's funny if there are actually wolves there. Yeah.
I actually, every time someone says Brandenburg, I immediately have that song stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Immediately. Do you know that song, Layanne?
No.
Oh, we need to listen to it.
We need to show you. It's in German, but still, it's good.
It's funny.
Yeah, actually, that would be a good reason to have a Spotify playlist. First song we put on, Reinhold Greve, Brandenburg.
Yeah. We started every time our friend group drives somehow to Brandenburg, we will play obviously Brandenburg in the car, but it has been very inflated the amount of times I've been to Brandenburg during the last year, so it feels somehow weird to play it every 2 months. I think that's too often.
So Brandenburg is, some people say it's the German New Jersey.
I think
more like
Montana.
No, it's actually
Ohio. It's the German Ohio.
The reason is they call it
there's nobody there. Nobody lives there. There's nothing to see. It's
Montana.
just
Yeah, but
I know some people in Ohio.
But the comparison is because Berlin is New York, and it's the area around New York where the people pretend they are from New York.
important.
Yeah.
Important German word for you: Brachland.
Brachland.
Yeah, it's like
desert.
Well, not really.
Yeah,
it's more like
Suburbia.
No, it's
it's just
actually uncultivated countries.
No,
Would be.
but you
I think
use
the
it just for desolate.
Yeah. All right. So after establishing the ground, shall we carry on with the normal procedures of our podcast with the pulling out of...
we could do a wee little question from the question sack.
Question sack is even weirder than Fragen.
Yes, I know, but it could be question bag.
No.
That would have been unfair.
funny.
Okay, let me just get. So what we do is we draw a little question.
But did you listen to one of our? We have to tell that Layanne is actually already comparably good in German. Did you listen to one of the podcasts in German so far?
Unfortunately not. I'd have to set aside some time so I can look up words.
Okay, so the question for today is a conspiracy theory that you believe in, weirdly.
Oh, this is going to get weird.
Yeah, I think this
It's not going to be something like flat Earth. It could be something like real tiny.
Oh.
I believe that the Catholic Church influences much more than it appears in the first place.
Is that a conspiracy or is that just true?
Well, for him, it's just true, but I think for a lot of people, it's a conspiracy theory.
That's true.
It's like this comedian that was like, you know, I generally think that people saying that they don't believe in any conspiracy are really weird because, like, it's the government tells you things and it's just all the truth. All of it? You believe all of it is true? That's just fucking weird.
Okay, I have one that I truly believe and that somehow feel weird that I believe it. Okay, so it's a bit long. So if a country like the US, for example, will ban abortions fully or put a lot of effort into suppressing women's reproductive rights, I believe they want to produce more poor workers because poor women then can't have an abortion and they feel a lack of poor people that will take on any job without any money, and that's why they do it. And I think it's really
More minimum wage workers.
more minimum wage workers, and I believe that is the truth, and it's
believe that
very
too.
sad.
Yeah,
I
but
believe
on
that
the
too.
other hand, if you want to have poor workers, just open the borders. They will come on its own, and you don't even have to reduce the reproductive rights of your women.
Yeah, but then that doesn't work if you're racist.
Yeah, you want white.
Unfortunately, people that want poor workers are also mostly racist. So,
But if you think your people are superior, why do you want them to do the shitty work? That doesn't make sense.
nobody ever said that racism makes sense
No.
except for racists. So.
I mean, it is also connected to racism because there is quite a hidden tax for people of color in the U.S. because of most of the time African Americans, because they still have to suffer the consequences of slavery since they haven't gotten any reparations, while other white people could generate generational wealth. And just statistically speaking, I think it's harder for black people, or it is proven that it is harder for black people to get out of poverty.
Yeah,
so,
not just in the U.S. I think that's a general problem.
Yeah.
I think if you're poor, it's any way difficult to get out of poverty, and might be even more difficult if you're of a minority. Yes,
We do have the special issue in the US where if you grow up in a poor county, the jobs that the parents are working are not getting paid a lot, and so they're not paying a lot of federal taxes, income taxes, then the school systems do not get funded as much as the richer counties. So, for example, I was born and raised in a very rich county because I live near Washington, D.C., so everyone in my county are, not everyone, but mostly government workers. So this is one of the richest and best school systems, public school systems in the U.S. So I just had an advantage.
that's why you're so posh. And,
Yeah, that's the word I think of when I look at Layanne. Posh.
yeah, very posh girl. So, what about your conspiracy theories?
So to keep it, to keep my name off some lists, I'm going to go with this one.
Oh, girl, you are already on that list, I can tell you.
When I was in high school, I was an IB student. Do you guys know IB? International Baccalaureate.
Yes?
So we had to take a class called Theory of Knowledge, which is how do you know what you know? And we were learning about conspiracy theories, and we were learning about the moon landing. And they started out by telling us all the reasons why the moon landing was fake. And I was believing it. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this. The flag doesn't wave. There's no stars in the sky.
Yeah, but actually, everybody knows Stanley Kubrick was hired to film the moon landing.
yeah.
But he's such a perfectionist, he wanted to do it only on the real spot and not in the studio.
No, but they started it out like that, and I was really believing it, and then the class ended with debunking all those facts, and I was like, oh, okay, back to normal again. But I was really fucked up for a second.
Oh gosh.
No, but it's a really good way of teaching how to critically think. I love it.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, but
No, but you were. That was the process of it being taught. So in the future, you would do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's actually a good one, because I can't think of a conspiracy theory right now that I actually still believe in. But I used to, which is the same with you, because you only believed for like a very short time that the moon landing was fake. And when I was younger, I had this phase, and for that you need to know that sometimes I get very obsessed with some sort of media or other. Like, it has been Harry Potter before, it has been Avatar: The Last Airbender, it has been Good Omens, so several things. And when I say obsessed, I mean obsessed. Like, I live and breathe that shit. And get really depressed when I think about the fact that it's not real, and I can't actually live it, and I can't meet the characters and stuff like that. And then I had this this really bad phase where I like re-entered my Harry Potter obsession. I don't know how old I was, 15 maybe, I don't know. And the internet told me that there was this thing. I'm really embarrassed about this, actually.
gosh.
That there was...
Wait, Cosi, were you into Snape wives?
No. There was this thing called shifting. And it's like reality shifting, and it tells you like, ooh, like if you do this and this and this, and you practice hard enough, and it's like meditating, but gets you like into parallel universes. But it also tells you that those parallel universes, like everything you can dream up, is an existing universe. So, for example, if you want to go to Harry Potter, there is somewhere out there a universe where Harry Potter is real, and you just need to shift into that universe. And I was so sad that Harry Potter wasn't real. And they said something about like CIA papers that like proved that it was real and whatnot. And I
went into that rabbit hole too.
I spent so much time researching that shit because I wanted to believe it was real, and I really did for a hot second there. And I tried. I did. I'm gonna publicly own this. I tried, but you know why it didn't work? So there was different methods how you could do it, and one of them was called the ADHD method, but I didn't know that I had ADHD, so I didn't try that one, and that probably was the right one. Yeah. So that's the only way, the only reason it didn't work.
All right, then I pull back the Catholic thingy. So when I was 10 or 11, my cousin had a book with unsolved mysteries. I read that. There was this one story about accidental self-inflammatory of people. So people start burning. And
is it about that monk?
No, several people who just started burning, and the flame got so high from all their energy inside that they burned up till literally everything of them. Self-burning. And I was terrified. I constantly thought, oh God, when I now start burning.
Spontaneous inflammation, spontaneous combustion.
I was like, I really believed that shit. It sounded so scientific with all the energy, all the fat and in your body, and then.
But those are like little things that as a child you were like, oh, this is going to be a big problem in my life, like the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh yeah, that was
I had a long phase of my early childhood where I was very sure that I was in high danger of becoming a bog buddy, like a bog mummy, to die like in a moor or like a swamp or something, or quicksand.
Yeah,
I thought that would be a huge danger for my life.
I thought crocodiles are lava. I think those were my big fears, and wolf.
I just see Layanne mouthing like, what?
Did you say crocodiles are larva?
Or lava.
Lava. Okay.
So magma.
I was like, crocodiles are larvae. What are they going to morph into?
We study biology.
So afraid of larvae.
Did you have something like that when you were little that you were like convinced would play a big part in your life or like is a big danger and now you're like, what the fuck?
No.
Not even the Bermuda Triangle? I thought that was like a universal thing.
I was very afraid of getting rabies.
No, I wasn't afraid
Not
of
even
that.
that?
Yes, because people always said like
Be careful.
Foxes pee on like berries and stuff, and when you eat the lower ones, you eat the rabies pee, and then you get rabies.
I was afraid because I liked how foxes looked, and when I was a child, I was like telling my mom I want to pet a fox in the woods, and she was like, "You will never pet a fox. They are too afraid, and if one comes up to you and you think that it's friendly, it will have rabies because they look friendly then." And I was like,
they don't look friendly. They are just not afraid.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have something that I'm afraid of now that I heard about on Instagram. that I'm sure is going to be a big problem. I don't know why. I just keep thinking about it. This bacteria in rice, after reheating rice.
I read about that too.
And I read about someone that like fried rice syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard like, oh, people
Those
can
shrimps,
die from
man.
that. And so like for the last few months, because I only heard about this a few months ago, I only cook enough rice for my one meal at that moment. I try my best to portion it so that I don't have leftover rice, even though leftover rice is great and I can do something with it the next day. But I'm so scared to eat leftover rice.
I've read about it too, and then I found out that the guy who died from it, he had his rice cooker obviously, and he would just make a huge amount of rice, and then just do click on warm for like every day. So he would rewarm all of the rice, then take a bit from it and did it for like 9 days straight.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was the greatest temperature for bacteria because it's like an incubator. He built his own incubator and put the rice in it. So if you put it in the fridge, it's totally fine.
I think up to 24 hours, there's no problem at all, even keeping it at room temperature if you're not living in tropics. So normal room temperature, 20 degrees, 24 hours shouldn't be any problem. And if you put it in the fridge, 3 days or so shouldn't be a problem. But having it outside several days that's wrong. But you can cook rice and keep it in the fridge at least for 3 days, even longer. I wouldn't recommend anybody to do it, but I would myself even eat it after 4 or 5 days. Especially if you then
so much more than that. Where's your self-worth?
Come on, that's not self-worth. That is just pure saving money.
I was the way he said it looked like he was going to say that's just pure alpha male behavior.
Alpha male, yeah.
They are stronger than the bacteria.
Yeah. Now you only have to chew very hardly. No, not hardly. Heavily.
Oh, like
to destroy the bacteria.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that one dude that said that when he was little, he learned about like the atomic bomb for the first time and like basically how it worked and like splitting an atom and stuff like that. And then he was like super afraid that like he would do one weird movement and like by accident hit an atom like the exact right way and just dust everything around him.
Split it.
Would be a cool superhero at that point. Imagine he's doing that.
He could do that once and then he's dead.
In primary school.
Everyone dead. Anyway, there's a different reason we have Layanne here. Also. Because she just started her master's thesis. And she was talented and lucky enough to actually get a really, really, really cool master's thesis topic. And we wanted to ask her a couple of questions about it. So maybe we can start by you just giving like a general overview of what you're doing and what the
and why it is so interesting.
To me or to everyone?
To everybody.
Yeah. So I'm doing my master thesis in the Leipzig Zoo through the Max Planck Institute there, the Evolutionary Anthropology Max Planck Institute. So the different labs there, they work a lot with apes and humans as well. Yeah.
Explanation: what is an ape? Not for me, for our listeners. Yeah. So
Difference between monkey and ape, for example.
Yeah. I think for English people that's obvious, but for a non-native speaker, ape might need an explanation. What's an ape?
What would be the difference between an ape and a monkey, actually? What's the...
One is an hominid, an ape is an hominid monkey, and a monkey is just an animal.
What is hominid?
Well, they're all
animals. So they are... Apes are connected to monkeys, but it's an own group, and the difference is that all apes have no tails, for example. In general, they are a bit bigger. There is one group which is called lesser apes, so the gibbons. But you could just name, there are 4 different species of apes.
Yeah.
And
so all 4 species are what I'm working with. Yeah. The chimpanzees, the bonobos, which both of those are relatively smaller than the gorillas and the orangutans. And so the Leipzig Zoo has all of them, and in pretty big group sizes as well. And so what we're doing, or what my group is doing, my group is called Comparative Cognitive Psychology. Yeah, and the comparative part comes from comparing the apes with humans. In general, a lot of times it's comparing with human toddlers, and seeing how developmentally the human toddlers are similar and different from the apes, which I think is really interesting. I think this goes into an area of biology that I've never touched on in my studies, and I really like it because it goes into this, I mean, the field that we study in BioS is like, how does science connect with humanity, connect with the world? It gives a really like close personal feel to what we're doing. And so what we're going to look at, which we haven't started yet, is seeing how exploratory the apes are. How curious are they compared to human children? And there's been a study by the same group that kind of shows that they're not as curious as human children when things don't turn out the way that they had expected. They kind of just move on with their lives, but we want to keep exploring this topic.
Okay, so, but just to clarify, are you comparing same age apes with human toddlers, or are you comparing adult apes with human toddlers? We're
going to be testing all the ages of the apes. So with the babies, the juveniles, and the adults.
Is that then not a bit apple and pears comparing? I don't know. Do you say that in English? Comparing
apples and oranges.
Oranges. You have to do it differently than the Germans. Yeah, because you should not compare toddler curiosity, but adult curiosity with them either, because there is a difference of curiosity between human children and human adults. Why shouldn't there be a difference between ape children and ape adults?
I guess maybe the idea is coming from the fact that we might think of even adult apes as on the same cognitive level as human children, that they're not up there with adults yet.
I think also that maybe this goes a bit too far into the topic already, but I believe previous studies have found that the main differences they can find between apes and humans are, for example, empathy and self-reflection, both things that will only develop in humans while going into adulthood. So I think it's more so helpful to then give a better comparison if you feel like these things are already lacking, to maybe already start with like a control that is similar in that way and still human. I mean, we want to find out how human they are, and obviously we consider toddlers human and give them human rights, so it would be enough to compare them to human toddlers, I believe. But I get what you mean.
How exactly do you test curiosity?
So the previous study was working with these like building blocks, and the apes and the children, of course, were taught basically how to build them. They can make a tower out of them and how they work and everything. And after they get used to them, they were given like trick blocks that can't stack the way that the other ones would. So they would put it down and it would fall over for some reason that wouldn't make sense to their previous knowledge. And so in that study, the children would kind of look under the block and see, is there something underneath? They would try to put it on a different surface. They would try to put it in a different orientation, or they might even ask the adult what's going on. But
so mean.
yeah. But then the chimps, for example, in general, would kind of just it would fall over, and they'd be like, "Okay, I'm done."
Fuck this. The chimps are like me. I'm not perfect at this the first time. Fuck this. I'm leaving.
But of all ages, did all ages of apes react that way?
I think yes. This was the general conclusion from the ape tests, and I believe it was just chimpanzees, but I need to double check. Yeah.
But I'm doing
something.
all four.
I'm doing something different.
Yeah, but you're doing all four.
Yeah, I'm
ape
working with
apes.
all 4 apes.
Okay.
What are you
Hopefully.
testing? How are you testing it?
So this is more about like hypothesis testing. Like, are they asking useful questions to save themselves effort, basically? So we will be providing them with these tubes that have tubes within them. And some of these little tubes are opaque and some are clear. And basically it's unsure where a piece of food will be in these tubes, and they'll be given multiple big tubes, right? And the point is that it's really hard to open, so it's going to take too much effort to open. So the thing that they could do instead is shake the tube to find out where is the piece of food. If they shake it, they're asking these questions that can save them the time and effort. They're asking a question to answer a hypothesis. Is it in this one? Is it in that one?
But they have to learn that they have to shake. By
Correct.
shaking, they can
Yeah.
build a prediction which tube has other tubes with food inside.
Yeah, so we have 2 different pre-tests that they have to pass in regards to that, them learning that.
And that is
shaking.
already done in children, or so human children.
Well, I'm not going to be testing the
Yeah,
human
but
children. in
do
this.
we know already how human children are reacting to these tubes? Are they, if they find out this way to predict if it's worth opening?
This I'm not completely sure, but there's another part of our group who this researcher generally works with the human children, and she's going to be doing the other part of this study
Okay.
with them.
Okay.
Oh, so you're working in parallel, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I mean, my master thesis is just this part, but the goal eventually is to write the comparative study
Will you then have your name on a paper?
if it goes through.
Oh my god.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Have you already worked with the apes one-on-one or group in group, I guess?
Testing, no, but I went to the zoo a few times last week just to get used to the environment, and I went with the zookeepers a few times to feed all of them. So I was in there. I got to touch their fingers.
Oh, how was it?
It was really nice.
It's giving Jane
One of
Goodall.
the baby bonobos tried to punch me.
Nice.
Their arms are skinny enough, and he just punched. But he missed, so it's okay. It would have been okay if he hit me too. He was really cute.
If he would have broken your nose, it would be
In honor.
an honor, mark of honor.
When I worked at the zoo, I was punched by a kangaroo.
That
So-
sounds very...
With his fist or his feet?
His fist.
Okay, good. That's better.
Yeah. It didn't hurt, but it was like I went in and the person taking care of me was like, take care because sometimes, especially if they don't know you, they can be a bit violent. I was like, sure. One step in.
Okay, I can beat that. When I was working in the zoo, I got handed shit from an orangutan.
Oh, but that's lovely.
Yeah, he was giving me.
It's very
a piece
kind.
of-
But do you know what that means behaviorally when they give you poo or excrement?
It's like
I
pebbling
don't-
for penguins. So he was basically in love with you.
yeah, he was.
I'm sorry to get a little graphic here, but also part of last week when I was spending all this time in the zoo, they basically said, okay, take the binoculars, go up and watch them in their enclosures, like just observe them, see what they're like. Okay. It was really fun. It was really interesting to watch them. But with the binoculars, you can see a lot. And I was watching this really cute young chimpanzee sitting in a tree, and I'm like, what is on his butt right now? Why is it so discolored? And I noticed his hand was going into his butthole and pulling out wet poop. It was diarrhea, actually.
Very nice.
It was bright orange, and he was sniffing it, licking it, like not eating it like, oh, this is food,
More
but
testing
like,
it.
Yeah,
How
what is this?
Self-diagnosis.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
called.
he was
But-
like, yeah, this diarrhea is going on for 2 days.
But
I need to really get into
I want to emphasize the fact that he put his hand in his butthole and pulled it out.
his full
Yeah,
head.
maybe it was like a this doesn't look or feel like it normally looks and feels. So maybe it's something else than what normally comes out of my ass.
Yeah.
So and then he checked whether it actually really came out of his ass by putting his hand up there, and then he got it out and was like, "Oof,
That's it.
what is this?"
Orange.
And then he
Yeah.
tasted it. It was
Did
like,
I eat some oranges?
I mean, that was maybe your hypothesis testing close up, right? He was like, I found this orange stuff and I see no other ape who has this on their butt.
That's
so
very
I think
curious.
it should be mine.
it probably comes out of my butt if I get it out of my butt.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And once again, we have the explicit
What's the
logo.
title of your master thesis? Orange ape butt. Diarrhea.
That's the worst title you could have made out of that
It's
story.
just with a hyphen, diarrhea in the end. It's just like
The subtitle. Diarrhea.
Making it on the run. No.
Oh my god. Maybe it just felt good.
Yeah, that's
knows?
what I was thinking for the first time. But if it's like diarrhea, I think it was specifically to test the poop.
Yeah, but maybe like it just felt good to have his hand there, and then he was like, "Ooh, wait."
Prostate massage and testing of his feces, I guess.
Yeah,
I think it's getting a bit out
two
of hand.
flies. Two flies with
Like
one
out of
stone.
his hand, you
Yeah.
mean?
Okay, back to topic. So, and therefore, you in general, these whole studies are about differences between human and apes to find out what
Yeah.
makes us so special as humans, or to find out if you are part of the animal kingdom, or what is the direction?
Yeah, for this specific group in the Max Planck Institute, this one is really comparing the non-human apes to the humans. So, what does make us special?
What do you think makes us special? Because that is not an answer question yet, and people have different answers for it, which are all valid in their own way. But what do you think is what made us special? And are we special at all?
Yes.
Ooh.
We're so special.
I mean, the way when I look at the apes, when I'm looking at them so close up, I really see them as just furry humans in a way, but maybe back in time. Humans have something special. I forget the exact word for it, but basically like knowledge built on top of each other
Yeah.
over generations. And we have the power to do that through language.
Yeah, we could accumulate knowledge.
Complex language, written language especially. So I think language itself makes us special. And I know that other animals have language in some variations, but the complexity of our languages is really special.
I actually read a very, very interesting article about that lately, where they talked about like what made us special, like what gave us out of all the like animals the possibility to evolve that intricate type of language, so that we could communicate so well and so much in so little time, so that we could accumulate knowledge over generations. And they made an interesting point there where they were like, okay, so the advancement of a species, let's call it that, correlates with the size of the brain. And for a species to evolve bigger and bigger brains, you know, you need an enticement. Like, why would you evolve bigger and bigger brains? And they kind of talked about that a lot of species work by copying other individuals of their species. So they learn from copying other individuals. And you don't need a particularly big brain to copy other individuals of your species, but you need a big brain to copy well and efficiently. So there would be a pressure there to get bigger brains so that you could copy better. And then after that, we would hit a point where we started teaching. So there's a lot of species that copy, but there's very, very few species that actually teach. And we are a species that actually teaches. And then they talked about like that we were the only species so far that hit like a certain threshold where the evolvement was far enough that like the brain was big enough and the connections were good enough and like the rudimentary language was far than enough that there was this threshold where we were able to evolve like a very, very intricate language with like where we were able to evolve like a really good culture and stuff like that. But that then made us able to really accumulate knowledge in the way that we could write stuff down and we could make stories and we could think, like imagine stuff. And that was like made us evolve like quicker and quicker and quicker. And I thought that was a very, very, very interesting take on it, because normally when you ask people that, it's like, oh yeah, language, or like, I don't know, like we have a moral code, I guess. But it was the first time that I really read about like the intricacies of all the things together and how it stacks on top of one another, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, in a certain way, it's most probably all of this. So I would, if I had to answer the question, I would say there's nothing particular which sets us apart. It's more a quantity. And that's a bit what you said. There is a lot of things you will find in our ape cousins. They have the same, but not in the amount we have. And we just reached the point where, like an atom bomb, where you had enough material to form a chain reaction. And that's what catapulted us out of the animal kingdom into where we are here and destroying the planet.
Yeah. This catapulted us to making podcasts.
Yeah.
I somehow have this particular obsession. I have this one term explanation how we got human, but I think it's just like my obsession, this explanation. So I will repeat it for like the third time in this podcast. So I believe that...
First time in English.
The first time in English, yeah. So I believe that empathy is a tool humans had to evolve to deceive convincingly and to lie to their rivals. So because human birth is so hard, and that's very specific. If you compare all apes, humans have the hardest birth. And I think it works in tandem with the growing brain size. So because of the growing brain size and the walking upright, it got so hard, the birth, and then the caring for the children got so difficult as well. So even partners who had children together would try to deceive each other to take less of the burden than the other person, or give as much of the burden as possible to the other person to care for the child. And they had to somehow find out what the other person was thinking to deceive properly. so they develop empathy. And this kind of backfired in the end into a moral code in the end, which is quite funny because the empathy got so strong, I believe, because it's so beneficial for humans that we feel so strongly for other humans that we don't want to deceive them sometimes because we feel their pain.
We should say at this point, we have said this before in other episodes, but maybe we should say it again here, that wanting to deceive someone, when we say something like that here, we don't mean that someone actively decides to deceive someone or like to evolve empathy so they can deceive someone better. It just means that like that's the evolutionary pressure to deceive someone, and then you evolve empathy. But it's not like people are all dicks and actively deciding to get rid of their workload and stuff like that.
It was just beneficial for the survival of the people who carried this trait to have it, I believe. So that's, maybe I misworded some things.
So how did you actually get that spot? Like, how did you?
I sent a lot of emails to a lot of different people in the Max Planck Institute.
But you knew you wanted to go to that specific place. So to that specific Max Planck
Institute.
Institute.
A lot of research. It's the same way I found the BioS master's program. I was online looking for every opportunity that could be interesting. So obviously I live in Dresden, so going far away would be a bit harder, but Leipzig at least was a viable option because at least the train ride isn't so bad.
So it's roughly 150 kilometers, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, and if you use the Deutschland ticket, you're there in like 1.5 hours, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and the Leipzig Zoo is like 15-20 minutes walk from the main station. So.
Yeah, leaving my house until getting to the Leipzig Zoo is about 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's okay. I try to plan it so that, because I have another job, I have other things to do, I have readings to do, so I try to plan it so that I can read on the train, and then when I'm not on the train, I'm free. For right now, the biggest issue is that testing days, I have to be at the zoo at 8.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
So I have to take the 6 a.m. train.
Especially now in the dark winter.
Yeah. But I live close to the station, so it's okay.
I remember when I worked in the Leipzig Zoo, I had to be there. I had to take the earliest bus and then train that was available to be there at 7 to start my workday. Wow. So I woke up at 4 and took the bus at 5:15.
Oh gosh!
See, it's
to
possible.
be there at 7.
It's doable.
It's doable, but I was very, very tired.
Here's how I think about it. I just have to get the energy to get myself to the station from my bed. Once I'm on the train, I can go back to sleep.
And I imagine it's easier to do that, first of all, because it's finite. So, you won't have to do that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And also because it is actually something extremely cool that you're getting up so early for. Like, if you had to get up early for, like, I don't know, fuck a desk job, you'd probably want to throw yourself off the next bridge in, like, 3 weeks.
Yes.
But like this, I can imagine it's quite cool. Like, I'm almost jealous. It's a very, very cool topic. I'm asking this for a friend. Are you
yes, you
able
can
to
come.
Bring a visitor?
I can bring you into the zoo.
That would be so nice because I love the Leipzig Zoo.
Yes, I can bring you into the zoo and you can get a special viewing spot of the apes.
Oh,
my
God.
Can you see orange poo? I'm asking for a friend.
We'll also pick up the binoculars from the office so we can see whose hand is going where.
That would be insane.
Yeah. I didn't even have to ask about that. That was the first thing she told me when she was showing me around the ape house.
So if you want to show off to your friends, you can.
Yes.
No problem.
That's pretty cool.
My roommate will be very jealous because he loves going to the zoo, especially the Leipzig one. Anyways.
Yeah, so Memo, for a bit later, because you mentioned something which I thought we should have talked before, but we don't go down the rabbit hole now about your other job, which is pretty interesting. Man, you are an interesting girl.
I'm very busy.
Very, very. Yeah, a lot of time, tram time. But so how do we have to think? You do now in the future go there for testing days. How many and how many apes per day are you testing with the tubes, and how long will be a single testing? Do you have an idea about that already?
Yeah, what did we say? So around 80 total testing days. The thing with working with apes is they have a lot more rights than other animals, thankfully. So they have to give their consent to be part of a test. So I could show up and me and the zookeeper will be ready for them to come into the testing room, but they can choose not to. So that would be one test that we have to redo another day. So about 80 testing days, depending on them.
But they normally do the tests because there are fruits in it
they
or
know
something
that food
nice,
is involved
nice food which they normally don't get. Or what is the
they're
trigger?
always quite willing to go from their enclosure into the testing or sleeping rooms because they know there's always food for them.
Enticement.
So it doesn't happen that often that no one shows up for testing.
I'm not sure how often it happens because I haven't tested yet.
Yeah, but did you talk to people who have?
Yeah, they said it can happen and you have to plan extra days. Yeah.
I imagine you standing in that room and like no apes showing up for the testing, and I imagine it looking similar to the scene in Phineas and Ferb where Dr. Dobenschmerz tells Perry the platypus that neither of his parents showed up to his birth. I love that scene so much.
Yeah. And then
that's the problem of monotrema, I would say. Other mammals have always at least one parent at their birth.
But to answer the rest of your question, I believe we plan for 8 individuals a day.
Okay.
So each test won't take more than 30 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, but
That's quite a lot of tests.
Still a lot of time you spend there watching
Well, it's like 4 hours.
Yeah. It ends.
Real time, but it's not like they are not standing there in line and waiting.
So basically an 8-hour day.
No. Testing ends at 12:30.
Ah.
They have to be back in their enclosures.
Okay, because the visitors want to see the apes too, or
Yeah, and they need to stick to a schedule. The apes.
they're not paid overtime, I guess.
Yeah, it's like working with children in movies. They can only play for like 2 hours at a time, and then they have to go back to school.
Yeah.
If you could only do 8 individuals a day, and you're doing several individuals of like 4 different species of apes, how many times do you have to show up there?
That's about 80 testing days.
80?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Still better than finding an apartment in Leipzig.
That is very true. Especially because you have to take your hubby.
No, he wouldn't come.
So, what are your favorite apes? So, which
The orangutans.
The orangutans.
They have such nice eyes. The chimpanzees make me feel uneasy because of the blackness of their eyes, but also because of the movie Nope. Have you seen that?
No.
Well, there's a very graphic scene of an ape killing everyone. A chimpanzee. Yeah. So...
Yeah, I guess chimpanzees can be quite aggressive compared to the other apes.
Yeah, for apes, they're pretty
unpredictable.
Pretty unpredictable and pretty aggressive. One would think it's gorillas or something. Like, I think if you asked like your normal person on the street, like, of these 4, which one are you most afraid of? It would probably be gorillas.
Because of King Kong, obviously.
Yeah, and because there's a lot of like, if chimpanzees are like in media, it's more like
cute,
quirky, like a little pet that they hang out with. And gorillas are always like...
all of the apes you have to be very careful with. Like, any one of them could snap your neck if they decide to.
Or like crush your ribcage, no?
Yeah.
They're like super
or like
strong.
rip off your face. That was, I think, a lot of cases were like ripping off the face.
So there's no case where you're going to be working with an adult ape of any kind, even an orangutan. But
Pause. How are they going to rip off your face?
I mean, there was it was just a woman. I think it was
that was the chimp, yeah.
It was a chimp.
Yeah.
It was a woman that wanted a chimp like pet, and she got it as a baby, and she carried it around with her everywhere, and
She treated him like a human.
she treated him like human, and he would obviously just grow up very antisocial because
what was his name? Timmy? Terry?
I don't remember, but
No, I don't. It's not either of those.
Right? It doesn't really matter.
no. But he was quite antisocial because he wasn't well socialized with animals.
He was traumatized.
He was traumatized, and then he got panicked, and he was sitting on her shoulder, and he ripped off her face and hair, I think.
Yeah, they have very sharp teeth. And that can happen. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But to answer your question, I am scared of the chimps, not just because of that, but because of the blackness of their eyes. It does make them seem a little bit more ominous.
Yeah, but that's similar to the gorilla eyes.
Also true.
Yeah.
But
chimps are in a certain way more human-like because they are really very in power politics and hierarchy and things like that, and thereby dangerous in general. I think in a zoo I would nowadays. So when I in the 80s in the 90s, it was in the 90s during my studies, I went into the cage with the orangutan inside the old one.
Wow.
That was normal. It was none with the chimps, only with the babies, but with the orangutan, the one old was normal to go in there. He was so relaxed and so slow that nobody ever. But nowadays I wouldn't do that either, and it is totally forbidden.
Yeah. The adult orangutan, the biggest one, I was really surprised how big he was compared to me.
And they are enormously strong. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they have huge faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
How is the setup in the testing room? So there's like a cage wall, and you're on one side, and they're on the other side, or how does it work?
Yeah. So there's the door, obviously, where the humans can enter, and then the cages, and behind the cages are these electric doors to the enclosures. So the zookeeper can control the doors from the other side of the cage, and they open them one by one in a special pattern, and the apes know exactly who should come in first and where they should go, because they do the same routine every day too. For sleeping, they sleep in these cages as well. So they have a special orientation where they're supposed to sleep, and the apes, they don't complain. They know who sleeps with who. Yeah.
gossipy.
Are they in joint cages while sleeping, or
Mostly no, but like the mothers and the babies sleep together.
makes sense? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
co-sleeping
Yeah.
done with humans as well.
Sleep when the baby sleeps.
And some I don't know the whole system for deciding who sleeps where and why, but some of them also sleep in the indoor enclosures, like where humans could also have seen them if the zoo was open. But they don't all sleep in the sleeping rooms.
Are there also I don't know how it's called, like fun things in their sleeping room? So like bedding, or is
There's
it
hay.
Hay, okay, that's bedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. They build their nests where they sleep in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing like the stuff that you use for like stimulation, toys and shit. I don't. It's probably outside of the sleeping room. No.
They don't really have toys. They have enrichment.
That's what I meant, enrichment. That was
but
the word.
it's more like food in terms of food. So it's kind of a snack time in between lunch and dinner, where when they're even in their
Tea time.
enclosure, yeah, they get thrown these bags that they can take the time to open, and
Vespa.
there's food inside.
Vespa is Vespa a Saxon word, or is it
No.
like
No,
Okay.
they do in
I
southern
think
Germany.
it's a Latin word, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, vespera means just lunch.
No, but it's not lunch. Vespa
but
is more
the
like
Latin word-
originally
lunch.
it was.
Okay.
Supper?
Yeah, no, Vespa is like it's like tea time basically. Vespa is like at 4 and you drink coffee and eat biscuits or something like that. That's Vespa for me.
It's not.
No,
I mean,
maybe
like,
here,
maybe
but,
here, yeah.
but no, it's actually
Snack.
mainly the takeaway lunch or snack. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
like the
that.
stuff you get from your parents in your school bag, so your school lunch or something would be a Vespa because it's packed. But maybe it's different.
I was raised wrong.
Another rabbit hole. Yeah. So what else? is
I
there?
had a few. So if you now see you've met the apes, and if you could decide on your own, what would you study in this special, like with the animals that are there in the institution that is there, if you could just choose yourself?
Honestly, my first choice, which is also a lab group in the institute, is language development and I mean that group isn't focusing specifically on language in apes. Actually, it's more like what we talked about for that one day in our class about the language tree and just evolution of language, which is super, super cool to me. I was saying the other day, like, what if I had studied language instead of biology? Then I would know 5 languages by now. 6 or 7.
Well, you already know quite a lot. So
You know 4 languages, right?
I speak a little bit of 5 languages, but I'm fluent in none.
You're
you're
fluent in
fluent in English. You are
Except for
fluent
English.
in Arabic. You're fluent in...
I'm not fluent in Arabic. My grammar is quite horrible, but that's why I know I met someone at the gym the other
So
day.
she's quite horrible because you are not fluent, or I don't get the context.
my Arabic is quite horrible.
the grammar.
The
Yeah.
grammar. I understood the grandma.
Oh
Grandma.
no, I met someone at the gym the other day just because I needed help with something, and I noticed that he was Arab, so I was talking to him in Arabic instead of German. And he said, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I was born and raised in the States, but my parents are from Palestine." And he was like, "Oh, that's why your Arabic is so bad."
Shots fired. Oh my god. So rude.
Yeah, that's actually the most German I ever heard from an Arab.
The word wasn't bad per se. It was
He
more
said,
like,
"You speak such a baby Arab."
yeah, it's like in pieces was maybe the translation.
So broken Arab.
yeah. Yeah.
Which isn't better necessarily. Wow.
Yeah. But that's fine. I always knew that.
But I mean, I think you can say everything you want to say,
You
right?
can converse.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is what I would say fluent means.
yeah.
Like, my
But-
roommate is Italian, but he's been living in Germany since he was 3. I'd say he's fluent in German, and his grammar sucks ass.
The articles, everything, all over the place.
No, but actually, like knowing at least a decent amount of 5 languages, I kind of get into this evolution of languages because the 5th language that I started learning was Spanish, and I already know English, a decent amount of German, and Arabic, and so it's like obviously I have to learn some things in Spanish, but every new vocabulary word is either similar to English, Arabic, or German.
I had the same thing when I was learning Spanish in Mexico, and I was already fluent in German and English, obviously. I've had years of French and years of Latin. And obviously, you know, with Latin and French, they're very, very close. But then also German and English, like, I would just, if I didn't know a word in Spanish, I would pick that word in one of the languages I knew
And put it
just
O
just
at the end.
make it sound Spanish.
Yeah.
And surprisingly often I was right.
Yeah. So, but you also, like, it makes you think about the history, like
Yeah.
how the language is spreading through the world, which I always found really interesting. I could have studied history as well.
Do you feel like it becomes easier to learn a new language every time you start a new language?
Yes. And it becomes easier to teach English because that's another one of my jobs. I tutor in English for kids and adults.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and especially, I'm a firm believer, you can't teach a second language if you don't know a second language.
Yeah.
If you didn't take the time to learn a second language. But yeah, by learning German, obviously, I can make more comparisons to English with my German-speaking students, and it helps me understand English a lot more, like the grammar behind English, because you don't learn grammar when you're a native speaker. You just know what sounds right.
Yeah.
So learning...
Or you don't know what sounds wrong. That happens too.
Yeah, I used to try to teach a bit of German to, like, around 2015, when a lot of people came to Germany from, like, fleeing from other countries. Not that they don't now, but that was when it really started to happen more.
And the infrastructure wasn't in place, so a lot of, like, normal people...
Yeah, a lot of normal people, like, voluntarily gave German lessons, and my mom and I did that as well. And I tried to teach German, but they would keep asking me totally valid questions, but questions that I had never thought about in my life because it's my native language. So they would ask me, like, "Ooh, why is the table masculine?" And I'd be like, I have no clue. I don't know why the table's masculine.
That you don't even learn when you learn it as a second language.
Yeah, but obviously they'd ask.
Yeah, but there's no real reason to.
There are some rules, though.
There are rules, but there's no reason in general for it.
Well, it's based on what the word looks like.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Like, that's the thing. My best German teacher, or my best, obviously I had German teachers, but who's the best person to help me with my German homework is my man who speaks it as a second language. Rodrigo is my best tutor when it comes to doing my German homework, because I have asked my German friends how to do it, and nobody knows anything, actually.
Yeah.
But Rodrigo actually took the time to learn it as a second language, so he knows all the grammar rules. Yeah. And so he can explain it better than any native German speaker.
Yeah, I was a shit German teacher. Like, seriously, I was not good at it. Also, my sister told me afterwards I would put on my, as she dubbed it, Hermione Granger voice. Which apparently just sounded like I looked down on them.
Like the know-it-all voice?
Yeah, which I didn't notice or mean that way. But apparently when I explain things, that's what I sound like.
You've dirt right there.
Can you see yourself working with that, like, after your master's thesis, like working with apes on?
That's also why I reached out to them. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to find a master thesis that I was really, really into, because I had a bad experience in the past of getting into, I was in a PhD program in a topic that didn't interest me nearly as much as it should have for a PhD. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really aware I still want to do a PhD in the future, but it's really important to me that I get into the right field, because I'm not about to have that same experience again. So that's why I'm willing to go to Leipzig every day at 6 a.m. And I mean, if it ends up not being my cup of tea, then I'll need to accept that. But I really hope that it really clicks with me and that I can continue on with it with PhD, internship, something.
Could you, like, because you already did a lot of science communication as well, obviously, like with BIOS reports and stuff, if you now notice, like, oof, this is fun, but I'm not really the, I don't know, apes type of gal, would you consider going into science communication, like doing something like that?
For sure. As a full-time job, it's definitely something on my list also.
Like writing for National Geographic or something. That'd be so cool.
Oh.
If I could be like, ooh, I have a friend that works at National Geographic.
No, but what would be like your dream job if you would go into science communication? What would you like to do day to day?
Something with teaching. I really like teaching. And that's the thing. That's the ultimate goal, but teaching at a university level, which is why I want to get my PhD. But like the other options, which is another thing that I'm getting a lot of experience this year from is like working as the scientific coordinator or the assistant to a scientific coordinator or scientific outreach of basically a specific research group or institute. And so that kind of job is interesting to me because there's a lot of different things you do. Yeah.
Actually, we can name drop that. So you're working for the PLIT.
Yeah.
And that was what I was referring before,
Yeah.
which we didn't mention earlier.
So, yeah, the PLID stands for the Paul Langerhans Institute Dresden, which is in the Uniklinikum where they are researching diabetes. And so it's made up of a lot of different research groups. And so I am a student assistant to the scientific coordinator, Frank Moeller. And so I got this job a few months ago. And it's a part-time, not even part-time, mini job. But basically every day I'm doing something different. Today I made a flyer for an information booth that we're having for World Diabetes Day. But yeah, that's just like the graphic design aspect of the job, which is also something I was always interested in. It's a little bit strange. I mean, I really like drawing and art. I grew up with that, but I never pursued it because I thought, oh, how can you make money with that? But it's a big part of my job now is the graphic design part and even making little illustrations for the research, which is interesting. Another big part of my job is reading the papers that are coming out of the Institute and writing for the website and for social media in a very simplified form. What is this paper about?
Where your experience with BioS reports comes in very handy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a lot of overlap. But I really like that part too because I really like the learning part of being a student, and I don't want to leave that when I graduate. So that part of the job is really like I really like reading papers, especially the low stress aspect of I don't have a test on this.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's just for funsies, it's super fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're well written.
Yeah. But I mean, even to critique bad papers.
Okay,
last
yeah.
week I had a journal club in my group where I do my masters, and we critiqued. I found a paper, we critiqued it, and it was quite fun actually.
That's one of the reasons I enjoy doing this podcast so much, because we pick a topic that we find interesting and that we think other people might find interesting, and then we basically have like a week to just cram up on it. So you just read whatever you can get your hands on and research. But since it's a topic we chose, it is something that I'm interested in researching about. I'm not doing a test on it. I'm just sitting here with friends talking about it, which is very low pressure.
And you don't need to concisely write a lot of stuff down.
Didn't you notice that I give you a mark after?
Well, you can, but it's not of any worth to me, that mark. So that doesn't matter.
No, but I generally feel that in this master's course, a lot of people come together that aren't quite as like, don't have an insular interest. That I think a lot of science degrees and a lot of normal biology students might be that way, that they will only like live and breathe biology, and especially like this one topic, and they won't do anything else or don't like anything else.
Yeah, they're like real microbiology buffs, or they really like oncology or something, but they're very specific
field. And I feel like I always felt very jealous of those people, where they only had one passion and were very like fixated on that and very good at that one thing. But I somehow in this course I feel the worth of interdisciplinary knowledge and interests, and how it, because humans usually aren't just one thing. But obviously there are facets, and to find something that connects a lot of the facets you find interesting, I think it's worth a lot to have like a fun job that puts a lot of things together that you like.
Yeah, and that's why these science communication jobs are so cool for people like us, because you really don't have to, like when I read these papers, I don't stress myself out about understanding the little details, because I'm like, I'm not going to understand that. I'm not an expert in this topic, and there's no reason to put that in the summary.
Okay, don't need to know how the exact method they used looks if you can infer by reading about the method if it's reliable or not. Then it's, and if the logical structure makes sense of the paper. I think those are the things that you really we really pay attention to, or if things are funded by someone, or how it contextualizes the thing they are writing about. I think that's a lot of fun.
And it's such a beautiful feeling to get your claws into a new topic. Like, and also the work that comes before, like when okay, we're going to do a new topic, and then like the hyping up before, like this, okay, why is this interesting to me? What angle do I want to research most? Like, what am I going to look for? And then just, I would almost call it romanticizing the hell out of it. Just like romanticizing the idea of research and how you're going to do it, and then just like finding something to love about the given topic. It's very, very fun.
It was hard for me with carnivorous plants, I'll be very honest.
Yeah, botany is maybe not our strongest suit. But Layanne's, you don't burn for botany either, don't you?
No. I don't. That's the thing. I don't burn for any one specific thing.
Yeah, but botany in particular is not like, as far as I know, you don't really like botany.
This botany bashing here is going
No, it's
too
not
far.
because botany is bad. It's just
I don't have enough experience in it.
very
think-
diplomatic answer.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I have a very...
So are you sure you're not from Switzerland? You're so neutral.
Again,
No, it's fine. Being cut off is my new personality trait today.
Oh.
No, but I don't remember what I was saying. I wanted to say. It was important, but I guess not. No, I was... one interesting thing about botany, it's a genetic topic. I think transposons are very interesting. I mean, it's not only botany, but at this university, they study it in plants. And I think that's a cool topic.
I actually also really love the evolution of especially like domesticated plants.
Yeah,
That's really
I
cool.
like that this was a part of our course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
we
fun.
looked into domestication in general, or
But-
cultivars.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Most topics become the most interesting when they overlap with other topics. Like pure botany, not really my thing. Might be yours, not really my thing. But botany, when it comes together with like genetics or evolution or history or something, that's cool. Love that.
So, just generally, maybe because you're a person studying abroad, far away from like where you grew up. So, how do you feel about this situation? And is there a way how you stay connected to like your family, or is your fiance now more your family here? How did your life change a bit by going abroad?
Yeah, it's different for everyone, and we could compare Rodrigo and me, because I mean, I'm close with my family but he's much closer with his family.
But he's longer away than you. So you are away now for 2 years, and he already did his bachelor with us, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in Germany 8 years, but I have also been away from my family for well, I didn't live with them in my bachelor's. So that's when I started getting used to being away from them. But I would visit them, I want to say like once a month or every 2 months. And then in 2020, I moved away for a long time. I moved to Korea, and I didn't see them for a year. And then I moved to Canada, and then I moved here. So I'm quite used to not seeing them. And the thing is that I'm not someone who really misses people that deeply, especially because of FaceTime. Yeah. Mostly, like, with my cat, I can't talk to him on FaceTime because he doesn't speak. And I just want to hold him and touch his face and everything. Yeah. So I miss my cat, but like with my mom and my sister and the rest of my family, I talk to them just like I would talk to them normally. We're not exactly a cuddly family. But I don't know. It's different for everyone. So just for me, talking to them on FaceTime is 90% enough. But sometimes I miss them on like holidays. Yeah.
But you're gonna go home soon.
Yeah.
How long are you gonna stay?
2 weeks.
Very nice.
For Thanksgiving. Yeah, because Thanksgiving is one of those times that I feel a little homesick.
Last year we did Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like a Friendsgiving, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last year. Was the one I wasn't there, and then the year before that we actually did a vegan Friendsgiving at our place. It was delish. We had like a vegan roast as well.
Oh, I was there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It came afterwards.
So good. It was insanely good.
Yeah.
Just another reason to just cook a lot of food and just eat a good dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you need?
You don't even need an excuse. You don't need a holiday. You should just do
but
that.
it's an excuse is a bad word. You need a reason to come together. To say now it's the time to come together, and it's you don't have to persuade the people. You have good food. You are together with the ones you love and like.
Olli sounds like Father Christmas. The ghost of Christmas. Future? No, which is like the really lovey-dovey Christmassy one?
The past.
Ghost
right?
of Christmas past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
Christmas,
past. Yeah,
the
the future is
one
the really
is
scary
the crazy one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel you are treated differently in other countries because you've lived in many different countries than the US? Because you are American?
No. First of all, like based on looks, I don't stick out here in Germany. I didn't stick out in Canada. I stuck out in Korea, obviously.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Well, Koreans don't.
Yeah.
Side note, I stuck out in Korea, but my really good friend who was with me stuck out even more. You know why?
Was he black?
She was blonde.
That was the British girl.
Yeah. So multiple times Koreans would go up to her while we were together, and they would go to her specifically and say, "Can I take a picture with you?"
Oh no.
And they'd give me the camera. And when my Korean got good enough, I told them, "I'm a foreigner too." And they're like, they got so embarrassed. They were like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I thought you were Korean." I was like, "No, you didn't. You liar." So they out of pity, they took a picture with me.
Oh no.
I didn't even want a picture, but I wanted them to want a picture.
But the same thing actually happened when I was in Mexico, because I am blonde and blue-eyed and very, very pale
And very
tall. People would just start taking pictures of me. If they were nice, they asked me beforehand if they could take a picture with me, but most of them just took pictures of me and then proceeded to like touch my hair.
Yeah,
And
like you're a giraffe in the wild or
it
something.
was very weird.
My favorite thing was my students' reaction in Korea when they would ask me like about my hair. They would be like, "Where did you get it permed?" I was like, "No, I didn't get it permed." What? It grows out of your head like that? Like, yeah. They're like,
Au natural.
how is that possible? Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just true. You don't stick out that much in Germany, and I guess in Canada you don't stick out that much either.
No, but speaking English, because I mean, did you feel there was a big language barrier anywhere? I mean, obviously not in Canada, but
Yeah. Right now, wherever I go, even in Korea, really, really quickly, I got to the speaking level to get around. And here too, but of course I've been here longer and I'm trying to learn the language even more deeply. But it's hard when in those situations where you really need it. For example, yesterday, we got yelled at by a guy riding his bike literally at 12 o'clock at night because we crossed the street on a red light. Walking, there was no cars, and it was the middle of the night, and we can all see that there's no
you
cars.
don't have to excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's a
we all-
normal thing to do, even if it's illegal. But
Jaywalk.
Yeah.
Jaywalk, it's fine.
But he was quite rude, and I understood him. My German's good enough to understand him and his tone and his mean words, but I didn't have enough German to say
Have
what
a
I wanted.
comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the comeback was just have a good night.
Oh no! Oh, I can imagine that's very frustrating. Him just yelling at you, just like, schön Abend.
Offline, we will teach you some stuff you could have used, but we won't mention that on air. Yeah.
Good German swear words.
Yeah.
Insults. Something like Wicht or Scharlatan. You would have been stunned, probably, if she pulled that one out. Yeah. It's very old German. Anyway, I think we have reached the time limit where we should probably put a wrap on this. Thank you so much for coming, Layanne. It was very, very nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
And talking about your trillion jobs that are all very different and very interesting.
Thank you.
To our listeners, we will see you again next time, again in German. We hope you liked the little different type we did today, like interview type and in English. But we'll go back to German next week again. Yeah. No, not next week, in 2 weeks.
Yeah. But to all our new listeners who listened to us never before, because we always had it only in German, write us if you want this repeated.
If you want this podcast in English.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want more English episodes. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there's only left to say we love you. Thank you for listening. And we will see you again next time.
Bye-bye, little rabbits.
Good night.
Das war Down the Rabbit Hole, der TU Dresden Biologie Podcast. Von und mit Cosima Sagona, Leonie Hobum und Oliver Zierau. Schnitt und Fact-Check Konrad Wilms. Musik Jan-Sören Eckert.